Okay, so it is 2 o'clock and we are ready to get started with our next breakout session. This is 9 relationship principles for school leaders with Shelly Hargis. Shelly currently serves as MTSS, PBIS, and SEL coordinator for Pulaski County Schools. She has 11 years middle school principal experience with 9 years assistant principal, 5 years school counselor, and 4 years as an elementary and middle school classroom teacher. Professional learning experiences include NISL graduate, certified PBIS trainer, leader coach, Kagan cooperative learning and student engagement coach, Kagan SEL, continuous classroom improvement coach, explicit instruction, thoughtful classroom, visible learning, professional learning communities, high yield instructional strategies, Danielson framework for teaching. Awards and recognition include Campbellsville Excellence in Teaching, Prism Award 3 times, and KSCA Angela Wilkins Helping Hands Award. So we are going to turn it over to Ms. Hargis. Are you?
Great.
All right,
All
here we go.
right. Can you hear me okay, Crystal?
Yes, you are good.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for powering through the day and staying on for our last breakout session of EdCamp. I've enjoyed every session that I have participated in today, and I'm just thankful to have the opportunity to share a little bit about my experience as a school leader. And I want to preface this presentation up front and let you know that I created none of this. In my years of experience, I was really good at borrowing things that other people had put together. And so that's what this is about today. I'm just sharing some principles and practices that I found worked well for me, and hopefully there'll be a takeaway of something for you. So we're just going to jump right in. This is a quick look at our agenda for the day. Did that advance on your screen, Crystal?
No, it's still on the title page.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, there it went up.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of go over our brief agenda today because I want to make sure that this session is meaningful for you and that this is going to meet your needs. But we'll do a real quick inclusive welcome. I'm going to ask you to think about your top 10 list. We'll talk about 7 factors of influence. Principal leadership matters, and it matters most. 9 relationship principles, 5 upfront expectations, the power of 5 with intention, and most importantly, everything we do is relational. So this or that, we're going to get right into that. Since we have winter scenes all across Kentucky, I just wonder which you would choose today. I'll give you just a moment to self-reflect on that. While you're thinking about this or that, I want to just talk about influence. What is influence? I guess a classic definition here is that influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something. And certainly as school leaders, influence plays a big part in the role that you lead. So I want you to think for just a moment about the 10 most influential people in your life. If you'd like to put 1 or 2 of them in the chat, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. This is simply just a reflection. I want you to think about who had the most influence on you personally, on you professionally, just what or who influenced you the most. And I'll give you a little think time. It will take you a few minutes to really think about the 10 most influential people in your life. But I'm going to guess that most of you identified a parent first, either your mom or your dad or both, maybe even a grandparent, an aunt or an uncle, but a family member that was very influential for you. I'm also going to guess that most of you were able to identify a teacher or a coach or a Sunday school teacher or a pastor. What was it about those influential people that made them influential? What were their characteristics? Well, I'm also going to guess that you probably had a very strong relationship with whomever was on your top 10 list. I'm going to guess that that person was very invested in you and made you want to be a better person. That's what influence is all about. So you can think a little deeper about the characteristics of influential people, but I'm going to guarantee you that as school leaders, you have influence and your influence matters. So these are 7 factors that influence. Now, this is adapted from John Maxwell's The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Again, I created none of this, but I love his work. And I want you to think about the people on your list and these 7 factors and see what kind of relationship you can make there. Probably the people that had influence for you had strong character. Who they were as a person mattered a lot to them and to you. Relationships. They valued relationships, and you could tell that in the way that they talked and walked every day. They also had a lot of knowledge. Maybe you had a teacher mentor or a former principal that was a mentor to you, and they passed along a lot of knowledge that influenced you. They had some intuition about things, lots of experience, where they've been. They had some wisdom built in there. They also had past success, because success, we want to follow other people who have walked in those successful pathways. And they had a strong ability. What they could do, they did well, and you saw that ability in them. So these are 7 factors that influence. Again, we're going to do a lot of reflection throughout this presentation, but think about your influence and what of these 7 factors are important to you in the work that you do in your schools every day. Character, relationships, knowledge, intuition, experience, past success, and ability. So principal leadership matters. Principal as a strategic thinker is a big rock in the National Institute for School Leadership, and I'm sure many of you have participated or will be participating. But everything we do with intention. We do with a strategy in mind. No one drifts to a desired destination. It doesn't just happen. It has to be intentional. And that's the way it is with relationships. We have to be very intentional with our relationships. It is key to the work that we do. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Therefore, if you lead well, you will do well. And when you learn to lead better, your life improves because you help other people. Leaders lift the load for others and add value. And that was something that I carried with me as a school leader, is I wanted to make sure that the work I was doing added value. It added value to my teachers. It added value, most importantly, to my students. All of those things that go into leadership as strategic thinker, being very intentional with our work, building those relationships, all of that is going to lead to optimal performance for your school, for your staff, for your students. Some of the things that you can do as leaders to help build just the climate and culture of optimal performance with those relationships, it's about creating experiences for students and staff. And I had an analogy back in the summer that I came across from somebody. It really kind of struck a chord with me because our county fair was in town and it was all a buzz in the community, and the kids were excited. They couldn't wait to go to the county fair, and that was a very unique and memorable experience for them. And then we had other students who were going to Disney World, also a very unique and memorable experience for them. But do you see the difference in those 2 experiences? So experiences are important. Do you want your students to have the Disney experience or the county fair experience? And so all of that you have to build in intention, relationships. Create more Kleenex and Kodak moments. That's a line or phrase I lifted from Todd Whitaker early in my career that I carried with me. You know, as we build these relationships with our staff, with our students, it's important that we cry together. Those are those Kleenex moments. And we celebrate together, those Kodak moments where you want to take pictures of everything. So as you work to build your culture and climate, as you lead your school, try to think about the experiences that you're creating and opportunities for Kleenex and Kodak moments. Now we're going to get right into the 9 relationship principles. Again, this is adapted from John Maxwell. And early in my career, I tapped into the Minute with Maxwell series. So if you don't subscribe to that, I would encourage you to. It is really 1 minute every day of something that is of leadership value. And I still, to this day, watch Minute with Maxwell. So 9 relationship principles. People are insecure, so give them confidence. People want to feel special, so compliment them. People want a bright future, so give them hope. People need to be understood, so listen to them. People lack direction, so walk with them. People are selfish, so speak to their needs first. People get discouraged, so encourage them. People want success, so help them win. And the last one, people follow leadership, so be an example. There's a whole series that John Maxwell puts out about these 9 principles, and he will break them down individually and talk through them. And I would love to be able to do that too, but we just simply don't have time in today's presentation. But if you'd like to learn more about those 9 relationship factors, feel free to reach out to me. You have my email. And anything that's in the presentation today, I'm happy to share with you. I think I skipped a slide. While I'm calibrating myself, you can be reading over that. So as you lead in your schools, these are 5 upfront expectations that I always found valuable. And, you know, I had to grow in these areas too. I didn't always have the big picture that I needed. I didn't always have a growth mindset about where my school was going. I didn't always stick to the values that I wanted in my school. I didn't always understand the responsibility that I carried. And I wasn't always as tough as I needed or should have been. And I didn't always realize how tough my job was going to be until I walked in that path. So, big picture. It's not about me. It's not about you, but it is about the big picture. And at the end of the day, student academic achievement has to be what we're all about. But there are so many different things that feed into that academic achievement. Growth. I think this is so important. I really try to lead with that continuous improvement mindset. We're not there yet, but we are on our way. This is the path. This is our vision. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to get there. Growth is expected. It's not an option. Keep growing to keep going. And I know that you value growth. Growth is a critical component of what we do every day. We monitor the academic growth of our students, and our teachers have to be a big part of that. So they need to know up front that growth is expected. Value people. Truly love them and value them, or stop leading, because I'm going to tell you, they're not going to follow if they don't know and believe genuinely that they are valued. Responsibility. Be responsible every time. Take ownership for that which you have been given. And as school leaders, we are given a lot to be responsible for day in and day out. And sometimes, maybe often, you are putting out fires. You are dealing with problems, and issues, things that you did not create, but it falls on you. And so you as that school leader, take that responsibility every time. Take the ownership for what you've been given. And you've been given the care of these students every day when they walk through those doors. So value that and take that responsibility to heart every day. And the last one is being tough. You know, we have to have those tough conversations. Um, Nobody wants to have them, but they are necessary. And that's just an expectation. You know, there might be a time when we have to have a tough conversation. We have to deal with the good stuff and the bad stuff. We can't ignore it. That's another critical upfront expectation. And actually, our opening presenter this morning talked about, you know, we can't just ignore things. We have to deal with it, or you create your own problem. So these are 5 upfront expectations that I found valuable. And it took me some years to grow in my work as a school leader and to actually try to follow this on a day-to-day basis. So there's nothing greater in training, teaching, and equipping others than doing it yourself. It's so important that we know the way, show the way, and go the way, that we are actually viewed as the school leader, as the person who may not have all the answers, but knows how to get the answers, is resourceful. When I do it well, I can now equip you to do it well. Success is when I add value to myself, but significance is when I add value to others. And to me, that is such a critical, important word in the work that you do as a school leader, is the significance that you bring to that environment. When you live well, you can help others to live well. And these are just some other things from John Maxwell's work around relational leadership and adding value. And I have never met a principal who didn't want to make a difference. I go back to thinking about why I became a teacher in the first place, why I became a school counselor, why I became a school principal. And it's always the same reason: I wanted to make a difference. You want to make a difference, or you would not be in this profession. You want to make a difference with the people who want to make a difference by doing something that makes a difference at a time that makes a difference. So I encourage you, when things get tough, and they get tough a lot, remember your why. These are some other areas of focus that I think are important as we lead our schools. We need to think, laugh, and cry every day. Touch others, literally touch others by shaking hands, high five, fist bump. We need to tug on those heartstrings. This is important for students and staff alike. Send moving messages, memos, emails, texts, notes, cards. You know, is it meaningful? Does it move people? Does it inspire them? Does it influence them? And ask others to tell you their story. We all have stories. Our staff have stories. Our students have stories. Give them opportunity to share those stories and have a yes face. It's important that we forgive and we reconcile. And, you know, we have to say no, but try to say yes as often as you can. Yes, you can do this. Yes, we can do this. But I emphasize, don't be afraid to say no. That goes into being that strategic thinker and critical decision maker for your school, with always that vision in mind. And it's important in the relationship piece to be approachable. Again, just to remind you, everything that you do is relational. So the power of 5 with intention: grow, connect, mindset, lead, and significance. So this is just a little snippet about the power of these 5, but again, with intention. It has to be on purpose. We have to plan for this. Grow, personal and professional growth. Read great books. Put water in the well. Fill your bucket so you can fill the bucket of others. If your well is dry, it's going to be really hard to pour into others. So grow personally, grow professionally, and take care of yourself. It's important to connect with people every day. Leadership is influence. Develop relationships, network with other people, value people, encourage them, and add value to them. Mindset. Difficult times do not make a leader, but they reveal a leader. So cultivate a growth environment. Stay in the growth game, ask the right question, always keeping your values and your purpose right in front of you. And then the way we lead. Take your blessings and your resources and add value to people. As the leader goes, so the organization goes. And what you say and do does matter. And the last one there, significance. Again, specificity drives that significance. Be specific. Learn to serve, to create more opportunities. Develop that emotional intelligence with others. You've probably heard these stories, these analogies, but I want you to think about your to-be list. So as part of our work in Pulaski County Schools, we're going to be rolling out a project with social emotional learning that's part of our social emotional learning curriculum that's called our to-be list. We all have to-do lists, things that we need to do, that we want to do, that we check off, and it feels good to be able to mark off those things on our list. But do we ever pause and take time to think about who we want to be or the kind of person that we want to be? And so I hope that you will decide which one of these you want to be: a parachute packer, a cathedral builder, or a fire starter. So I'm just going to give you the gist of each of these little analogies or parables. Some of these are true, and you can look that up if you want to learn more about it. But a parachute packer. Everyone has someone who provides what they need to make it through the day. Plum was a military officer who was shot down in battle, and he survived after being he was taken hostage or in custody. But he said he survived because of his parachute. So he was in a store or a restaurant someday later, years later, and a gentleman walks up to him and says, "Aren't you, so and so Plum?" And he said, "Yes, I am. How did you know that?" And he said, "I packed your parachute." And so the story talks about that during this time when he was held captive, that he needed not only his physical parachute to land to his safety, but he also needed his mental parachute, his emotional parachute, and his spiritual parachute. And he called on all of those supports before reaching safety. And so years later, he was thinking back on reflecting on meeting the person that packed his parachute and how much time he spent folding and tucking and making sure that everything about that parachute was just right. And in the end, it saved his life. So great little story. Think about being a parachute packer. Also, you've probably heard the story about a cathedral builder. Are you laying bricks or are you building a cathedral? We may be laying bricks every day, but if we can envision the cathedral and move through our days with intention and passion, that's when we live our best life. So, if somebody asks you what you do a lot. You're not just a principal or just an assistant principal or just a counselor or just a teacher. You are an educator. You are building a cathedral every day. Great little story. You can Google that if you want to read the whole parable there. And the last one is be a fire starter. There's a redeeming power with fire. And so that's why we have controlled burns. These burns go in, they're planned fire. They're there to accomplish certain management goals. And when it's all over with, things can flourish because you've gotten rid of the debris and the things that are underneath that are preventing the growth and preventing the forest from flourishing. The thing about being a fire starter is, the firefighters, they're always on the outskirts watching, making sure that it's contained, that it doesn't get out of hand, and that it's being effective. And they also know when to extinguish that fire. But there are times when we have to start a fire with people. Something is going to ignite a fire somewhere. So maybe it can be you, the principal, to start that fire and get things going, realizing that it is going to be redemptive and healing. So things grow back better, stronger, and faster when they've been exposed and consumed by fire. All right, leadership. If people follow leadership, then leadership should be worth following. And you cannot give what you do not have. And these are just some little quotes and things about leadership that speak to me. And I just wanted to share with you. Leadership is not a position or a title, it is action and example. Leadership is no longer about your position, it's now more about your passion for excellence and making a difference. Leadership is not about a title or a designation. It's about impact, influence, and inspiration. And leaders must be close enough to relate to others, but far enough ahead to motivate them. And that pretty much sums up what I had to say today. I was rushing through that to try to get finished in 30 minutes, and I think I should have taken a little longer. But I hope you have a wonderful rest of your school year. This is the critical middle. Every day counts, and it's never too late to make a change for improvement. One of my mentors and most influential people told me this early in my career, because I was wanting to make some changes. I was wanting to do some things differently, but I had this mindset of, well, I'll need to wait and do that next year. I'll need to wait and do that next year. And this wonderful mentor said, you can't wait. Now's the time. Why would you wait if you know this is what you need to do? Do it now. So I hope that you finish strong. We finished strong today. And if I can support or help your school in any way, feel free to reach out and contact me. And thank you for staying with me. And I'll stay on in case anybody has any questions.